right side.
Yeah, I remember feeling that pop.
And Staley's down.
Like, you know, I knew it instantly because that's where I was getting those injections.
You know, my first impressions of him is that he was like Thor. He was like a Greek god. He had a tremendous physical presence to him.
So I've had 3 on this shoulder, 1 on this shoulder, 1 on my nose.
In the backfield.
He was like Popeye reincarnated.
He was among the best running backs to ever play at BYU.
2 on both wrists, 2 on my ankle, 1 ACL on my left leg with probably 4 or 5 scopes.
Number 6 was the baddest running back at BYU.
3 ACLs on my right knee, cartilage transplant, don't have an ACL on there now, and probably about 7 scopes and scheduled for another scope.
For him, and he's being helped off the field.
Would I do it again if I had the opportunity? You know, and if you asked me that when I was playing, absolutely. A couple years after, yeah, I don't know.
I think he started playing football at whatever the youngest age was, 3rd grade, 4th grade. In fact, I can remember going to one of his games. I still remember where it was at and watching him play. And he was running long touchdowns back then, and he was a little bit bigger than everybody and a little bit faster. But you could tell, yeah, he had ability.
Luke Staley was born in Bountiful, Utah, but grew up in Tualatin, Oregon, a suburb of Portland. From an early age, he had athletic ability and determination beyond the other kids on the playground.
So Luke would, when he got old enough, would come play with us. And I remember one time being we were playing at a park and we were playing football, tackle football. We always played tackle. So he was probably 8. And we didn't go easy on him. I mean, it was tackle and we got pretty physical and we were pounding him pretty good. And I remember that we were playing so hard, his shirt had ripped off. We'd ripped his shirt off, in a lot of pain. We're being really hard on him. And I remember when he started to cry, we were so tough on him. But through all of that, through the tears and everything, he stayed and played with us. That whole, I mean, we played for a couple hours probably. I just remember that because he was physically very gifted, but he was driven too.
Luke played football and ran track at Tualatin High School, where he set many school records, was named Player of the Year by the Oregonian newspaper, Gatorade, and USA Today. A blue-chip top 100 player that a lot of universities wanted, but he never gave any of them a chance to recruit him.
You know, ever since those days, I had my mind set up that I was going to go to BYU, and I, was going to do anything I could to make that come true.
The possibility of playing for a legend like Lavelle appealed to Luke, along with the fact that he could play with his older brother Dustin.
And Rice wanted to heave deep for Smith. In single coverage, it is broken up by Dustin Staley.
He could have gone a lot of places. He was really highly recruited, top player in the state. And so he was recruited by a lot of different schools, and I think he kind of had his mind made up that he wanted to go to BYU.
Luke played as a freshman, making an immediate impact. Scoring 13 touchdowns and leading the Cougars to an 8-4 record in the '99 season. The Sporting News and the Mountain West Conference named Staley as a freshman All-American, but it was his roommate Brett Ingeman that made him a comic book hero.
He was like Popeye reincarnated. Yeah, I mean, if you can reincarnate a cartoon, which I don't think is even possible, but yeah, it was impressive to see. He worked really hard, and obviously genetically he had an advantage there. I'd never seen an athlete as explosive. Luke was exceptional.
The coaches, fans, and other players had never seen a running back like Luke Staley.
He was already so dominating in every way athletically that we were all just kind of in awe of this young freshman that had come on campus that already physically looked like a senior in college.
But his success came at a price. Staley had knee and shoulder surgery at the end of his freshman season.
Obviously, I had a body that was riddled and predisposed to injuries. For whatever reason, I didn't have, people can play their whole football career and not have a surgery. I was unfortunate to have that, but on the same token, I was, for whatever reason, I was able to get back a little bit quicker, a little bit faster. than other people. So, no, I don't think the injuries early on affected necessarily the outcome or affected my play on the field.
Coming off his surgery, Staley scored 7 touchdowns in his sophomore year. He made the key block that scored the winning touchdown against arch-rival University of Utah.
Reach for the end zone, he got it! Touchdown, Brandon Doman! Brigham Young leads it.
It was the final game of Lavelle Edwards' career. Staley loved and respected Coach Edwards, both on and off the field.
You know, Lavelle, he's not necessarily an X's and O's guy. He's a delegator, and there's a lot of things that you can learn from him. If you sit back and you look and you see how he operates and you see how he sets up his business and you know, trust the people that he has in place. So I have nothing but admiration for him and the way that he facilitated that BYU program and how he, you know, BYU is a tough place for a lot of non-members or people from outside of Utah to come to. But he had a way of nurturing them and, you know, getting them to that end result.
While the loss of Lavelle hurt, the arrival of Gary Croton helped Staley because Croton designed his offense around number 6 and his ability in the open field.
You know, I loved him. Offensive genius, offensive-minded coach, put players in positions that year to succeed.
Croton's coaching genius and Staley's running ability worked. In Staley's junior year, BYU started 12-0, ranked in the top 10 in the nation, and averaged 46 points a game in the Mountain West Conference, the best regular season scoring average in BYU history.
I'd seen flashes of brilliance. I mean, you saw what this kid could be, but 2001 was where it all took off. We'd seen hints, but then in 2001 it was the full revelation.
That season seemed almost meant to be in many ways. Some of the finishes at the end of games, just overcoming, you know, odds at the end of the game and winning in an exciting fashion. And that group of guys that we had that year were not only superior athletically, but just a good group. You know, just a good group of guys that all believed in each other and all, I think, genuinely liked each other. And I think that made a big difference.
Touchdown BYU.
I think he was averaging like 8 yards a carry. I mean, that's insane. I mean, that's Reggie Bush type stuff. He would get on the edge, he'd run for 30 yards, or he'd run for, you know, 25 yards or 50 yards for a touchdown. And he would overpower linebackers, he would outrun safeties, he would run through tackles.
I was down on the field and the offense was out there, and I remember watching the offense. And I remember watching him play, and I thought, he's really good. He's kind of taken it to another level. I was kind of a little bit shocked how good he was. Well, he had one play around the corner where he turned on the jets and was gone for a big gain. And I thought, you know, the size he has, along with his kind of balance with that size and his speed, he's pretty special.
We just had the personnel in place. You can't find a weak spot on that offensive line. And to be able to be a running back or a quarterback and to be able to know that those 5 guys up front are taken care of is definitely a comforting feeling.
Perhaps the most memorable game of the 2001 season came at home against the University of Utah, a team bent on wrecking BYU's undefeated season.
Getting away from the blitzing Kelly, throw to the end zone, and at the 1, it's caught by Lamet.
Utah led 21-10 with only 3 minutes and 30 seconds left in the game when Doman hit Staley out of the backfield for a 7-yard touchdown.
Big pitch, Doman. Has to add lid. Here's open. Luke Staley, touchdown.
Then Staley ran off tackle for a 2-point conversion to cut the Ute lead to a field goal.
2 points.
With a 3-point Utah lead, the BYU defense held, forcing Utah to punt. BYU got the ball back on the 40-yard line with 2 minutes and 11 seconds left on the clock.
Rigel to the 40. BYU, no timeouts. 2:11 to go. 30 yards away. Another shotgun option. They still don't have Staley. Luke Staley! Touchdown!
Up 24-21 with 16 seconds left, BYU defensive back Gennaro Guilford made an interception, sealing the BYU win. This incredible season put BYU in line to play in the Fiesta Bowl and a path to a possible national championship.
We were going to go undefeated. We were winning the conference, and everything came to that moment as he took off down that sideline. And it was about as special of an experience as I can remember. You know, we thought we were the best team in the country at that point, and that was the energy and enthusiasm in the locker room that we could not be beat.
But a week later, at a road game in Starkville, Mississippi, a sold-out stadium showed up to watch the 10th-ranked BYU Cougars play the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Down 10 points in the second half, BYU came back to tie the game.
Balls into the end zone. Touchdown.
Staley took them to the 7-yard line, ready to make the go-ahead score when disaster struck.
Right side. But he is dragged down.
I remember feeling that pop. Like, you know, I knew it instantly because that's where I was getting those injections.
And Staley's down.
And so I knew it wasn't right. It wasn't normal. You know, it was heartbreaking. And I remember, 2 weeks after that, realizing that I had to have surgery, and my plan of going to the NFL was going to be severely changed as a result of it.
Well, when he went down, our third to last game, when he finally went down, we knew what that meant. We knew that we were losing half of our offense right there. I mean, he equated to at least 200 yards of offense every game, from running the football to catching the football. And you add up all the touches, like I said, that he had in the game, and you pull that out. It was demoralizing in many ways.
BYU scored a field goal and won the game with Staley in the locker room, where he learned he had been nominated for the Doak Walker Award, given to the nation's best running back.
The best running back in college football. This is the kind of an award that was a consensus All-American. That means that all the voters in the AP and the UPI, the coaches poll or whatever, had decided that he was the best running back in the country.
The finalists for this year's Doak Walker Award are Luke Staley, BYU. This Cougar tailback had one of the best seasons of any individual player in BYU's storied history. He's been one of the most productive players in any position, averaging over 8 yards every time he carries the football. Staley is a major reason the Cougars lead the nation with more than 46 points a game. Against arch rival Utah, Staley's touchdown reception helped the Cougars pull within 3. And then he scampered 30 yards down the sideline for the game-winning touchdown. Just one of 24 rushing touchdowns for Staley in this, his junior year in Provo.
I'm proud to announce this year's recipient of the Doak Walker Award from Brigham Young University, Luke Staley.
He went up to the podium to receive the award, and he was on crutches. He was on crutches, and that told the whole story. It was symbolic of his career. Here was a guy that averaged 8 yards a carry, scored 28 touchdowns, 25 on the ground, and he was injured. He was hobbling up there on crutches.
Without Staley, BYU lost the next 2 games, including the Liberty Bowl against Louisville.
I think if he's healthy, I think we beat Hawaii. I think we win the bowl game. I think we have an undefeated season. I thought, Brandon Doman and Luke Staley were a wicked 1-2 punch.
The injury dashed the hopes of an undefeated season and a national championship for BYU, but it also ended Luke Staley's college career.
I begged him not to do it. Selfishly, I wanted him to come back because I knew it would help me. I also felt like it would have been good for Luke to experience an entire season without being injured.
Do you think that hurt his career, that he went early?
I do. I just think that it would have given him another year to heal.
But Staley was determined to use his skills to make a living in professional football.
I think I had my mind set up midway through the season.
I think when he decided to come out early, it was kind of like, hey, we understand this. He's been through a lot. He's been injured. He's coming off a foot injury. He's only going to have a short time because of his injuries to play in the NFL. So yeah, get on with it. Do it. Go out now. Let's see how far you can go.
With his impressive college career, sports commentators expected Staley to get drafted in the 2nd or 3rd round.
Kirk and I saw Luke Staley in 1999, his first start against Colorado State. And the first run he made was right down the right sideline, and we went, whew. Man, this guy's a future NFL star.
But his ankle injury made many teams pause.
You know, I guess I was a little bit naive going into the situation. You know, I expected to be taken second round, third round.
It was the word, the slip. It was just, okay, it's going to be the next round, and then you get into the fourth and fifth rounds, and you go, okay, it's going to be the next pick. It's going to be the next pick. Someone's going to pick him.
It was a tough 2 days, to say at the time.
It was hard to watch, hard to see, and it was like so many things in life. There's nothing you can do about it at that point.
And you know, it was like, what, 7th round, and nobody cares. You know, you're waiting for Mr. Irrelevant at this point. But I got a call, and it was from Detroit. So, you know, in some sense, it was a relief. In some sense, it was like, you know, what's going on here?
A torn ACL in training camp, and the Lions cut Staley, ending his professional career without ever donning an NFL uniform or playing a snap in an NFL game.
You get to the NFL, and it's a totally different game. I think BYU, when I was there, was a little bit different than other major colleges. A lot of major colleges run their program like some NFL teams, where BYU was a pretty relaxed, a pretty easygoing place when it comes to sports. When I got to the NFL, it was like, oh boy. I mean, it was just an eye-opener. It was a different game. It was a different tempo. It was a different speed. It was a business. I mean, to every extent, every aspect of what they're doing, it's a business, and they're going to maximize their commodity until it's time to move on.
If you're hurt, you can't help us. So you better get yourself healthy, or else you better get back to where you came from. And it's weird when you're on a team and you're hurt. You feel like a ghost. You feel like you don't fit in. You feel like, this is my identity. This is who I am. And now it's been taken for me for a time. But on an NFL roster, you only have 47 people that dress on game day. And if you're hurt, you're taking up a spot. That's why the NFL is called not for long. If you're injured, you're out.
For many years, Staley felt resentment toward his alma mater, feeling that the coaches and staff put winning ahead of his health.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of anger toward, not necessarily towards the football coaches, towards my teammates, but to the medical staff that was supposedly looking in the best interest of the players, not only short-term but long-term.
But Staley also recognizes his own responsibility in not taking control of his own medical treatment, wanting to win at all cost.
You know, I accept my part in it. I accept my responsibility. And when I was a player there, I was going to do anything I could to be the hero. I was going to do whatever I could to help the team win. It becomes addictive in a sense where if you're successful and you start to hear those cheers, you love it.
Look, that's part of football. Football and injuries go hand in hand. So there's a lot of people that could have been Super Bowl MVPs, but they blew their legs out, blew their shoulders out, blew their minds out. And Luke is one of those guys. He could have wrecked shop in the NFL. He could have been tremendous, but his body had other plans.
When you get injured, you take it personally, and you almost feel like if you don't get back on the field, there's a perception that you're weak.
I mean, there were times I came off the field and the doctor's like, well, you can muscle through it, or we can try and figure out how to lighten the load on that pain. And I wasn't going out. I was not going to sit out. If I could possibly play, I was going to play. And Luke was no different. He was going to play if he could play.
But in 2015, Staley was inducted into the BYU Athletics Hall of Fame, an award that softened his heart toward the school for which he sacrificed his body.
You know, when I got inducted into the Hall of Fame, I came home and got the mail, and there was a letter from BYU in there, and opened it up, and it ended up being a handwritten letter from Lavelle, and that, you know, that was pretty neat. That was like being a junior or senior getting recruited again from him. So that was pretty cool.
Staley and other former college football stars don't dissuade kids from following them, but advise those hoping to become gridiron greats to take responsibility for their health and not sacrifice their future for the rush of winning the game.
I wish I would have figured out what was going on, what was being recommended to me, and educated myself a little bit better, and had the vision to see how things affect long-term opposed to just a short-term.
I don't think it's different from college to pro. The trainers, the physicians, the surgeons, they're going to do everything they can to get you back on the field. but it was still my responsibility to say what I was willing to do or not do. It's your body. At the end of the day, you got to say what you're cool with and what you're not.
So what is life like for a broken running back who cannot make a living carrying a football?
You can sit there and you can dwell in the past. You can sit there and say, you know, look where I was. You know, life's what you make of it. And every morning I wake up, I'm happy. I go to bed and I'm happy. I have a great family. I have great kids. I have a great wife. I love my career. So, yeah. It's.
You don't need football to be happy.
No, I need, you know, those two and my wife.
Coaching is a big part of Staley's life today. He coaches his boys in just about everything.
For me, that's one of the most rewarding things. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love seeing kids develop, love seeing kids, you know, come from a baseline to where they ended up finishing out the season. So it's definitely a rewarding thing that I do. So it's not just coaching it; it's watching my kids, my family grow. They're two totally different kids, but at the end of the day, they are perfect in almost every aspect.
While he doesn't regret his football career, he has to admit that the damage to his body limits his life.
There's definitely lasting impact. I can't run, really. There's activities that I can't do. I know it and try not to put myself in those situations that might cause injury. I'm just in a 60-year-old body. So it's, you know, it is what it is, and I have hard days and good days, so.
But even as he walks up and down the side of the basketball court and deals with daily pain, he says he still loves the game of football and will support his sons if they choose to follow him onto the field.
My kids, they do play. By no means are mom and dad living through our kids. It's their decision, it's their desire to do it. But mom and dad also are very cautious and will never put them in a position that will jeopardize their health long term.
At age 35, Luke Staley can look back on an amazing football journey, from his days dominating at Tualatin High School to rewriting the record book as he led the Cougars to an almost perfect season and being named the best running back in the nation.
His legacy at BYU is the best running back of all time, and he went out as a junior. The speed, the power, his ability to catch balls, just no one like him.
It's kind of like a superhero in a lot of ways. You just had never seen anything like that.
I'd never seen an athlete as explosive in so many ways. Luke was exceptional and just was very clearly ahead of his age for sure.
I did not play with a running back in the NFL that had more talent than him.
When you think about the 12-0 start and how they were just running points up and how versatile and diverse they were, it was Luke Staley. I mean, he made the plays. He was what gave BYU that extra gear that year. And so to me, his legacy is one of again, just physical dominance. People remember his sideline runs. They remember his speed. They remember how they felt in certain games that year.
So much success with. Now this time they'll elect to go with a pitch, and Luke Staley finds the end zone. Keeps it now, pitches out to Staley. He cuts it up the middle. Staley's going to take it the distance inside the 10. Staley picking his way, still picking his way. What a move did he put on at the 35-yard line. Boy, what a way to do it, too. What a great golden tackle for a short game. Luke Staley with that good vision. Right up the middle.
know, it comes down to the end of the day, are you happy? And, you know, did you accomplish something? Did you set goals? Did you figure out a way to achieve those? And did it end up benefiting you for the positives? And most of that's yeah.